Now, honestly, I think this is the first time I'm starting America's Dance 30 by apologizing to my guest. But Sam, I feel like I need to apologize to you. We've known each other a long time. Besides that, you are an incredible producer, DJ, philanthropist, businessman, label boss, and all-around human being. So I apologize that I've never had you as a guest on America's Dance 30 before. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, we've known each other for such a long time. We've partied together. We've been to shows. And I don't know, sometimes stuff doesn't happen the way it should. And now we're finally making up for it. So that's good.
Yes, please don't hold it against me. Sam Feldt, welcome to America's Dance 30 for the first time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Now, it has been a long time since we've properly caught up. How have you been?
I've been good. I've been mostly on the Kygo tour right now. We just did New York, 2 shows at the Barclays Center. I am now in Boston, and we're going to Canada, so it's Toronto and Montreal this weekend. So I'm about to hit the stage again in a big stadium today.
And how has Kygo's tour been for you so far?
Very good. Yeah, we were able to premiere our brand new song, Heart Like Mine, with Rosa Linn on the Friday on the sold-out night at the Barclays. So that was really, really cool. Got lots of content, and it was really cool to meet her in person as well. We've never met before. So overall, it's been really, really nice. And I think, the audience that Kygo pulls to his shows is exactly the type of audience that also listens to my music. So I think it's a match kind of made in heaven. We're continuing the tour as well in Europe, in Copenhagen and Budapest. And I'm even going to the one in Mexico next year. So there's lots coming up too.
That's awesome. Yeah, I saw the video you posted with you and Rosa Linn performing the song. I can't wait to talk about this smash because it is such an incredible song and find out how it was born. But first, let's get to know Sam Feldt a little better with Finky's First.
Sounds good.
So I always love finding out the origin story of artists. I know you learned music at a really young age, and then you started DJing and producing at like 13, right?
Yeah, correct. Around the same time, I discovered Fruity Loops, and a friend of mine also discovered the same software, and we were making all sorts of random stuff, jump style even. That was my first genre that I really produced and put out on like the forums and stuff like that to get feedback on. And at the same time, I was saving up for things like a smoke machine and an amplifier to build my own drive-in show and play, the parties at school, parties with my friends. And that's kind of how I started both as a DJ and a producer around the age of 10, 11.
But then you also even had your first e-commerce store at 13 years old. Now,
Correct.
When you were growing up, what was the first thing you wanted to do? Was music the first thing you wanted to get into?
I think anything with buttons, computers, I was super interested in building websites. As you said, my first business I launched officially when I was 13 years old, and I was an e-commerce store drop shipping cameras from China to the Netherlands. So it's kind of what's popular now, but then, 15 years ago. Anyways, anything that had, buttons and was blinking that, kind of draw my interest. And that included, of course, the CD players, but also the visual aspects of the show. Like I loved, getting a new smoke machine, like I said, or getting like something cool, like a laser for my drive-in show. So I was just a big nerd, both, on the software side and on the hardware side. And music was always a big part of it. And I feel like, if you want to be successful as a producer, you kind of need to be a nerd because you need to spend a lot of time behind the computer messing with stuff.
As somebody that likes to have their hand in all aspects, you are so insanely busy now. Do you have to let that go, or do you still have your hand in everything?
Well, I mean, for every project that I have right now, I've got a team in place that I fully trust. So I've got a great management team at Palm Tree that do their best, to get me new collabs and features and find the right songs. And Heartfelt, I co-run with my wife, Michelle. She also owns half of the label. So I fully trust her on that side. So there's partners everywhere. I mean, I'm still kind of at the helm, at the head of it all. I still make the important decisions, but it's not like I micromanage on a daily basis. I hope not, at least.
That's good to hear. You'd probably drive yourself and your team crazy.
Yeah. I used to be pretty good at that, but I kind of let it go now. Yeah.
Now, complete side note, but you got to share with our AD30 fam what your first job was. This was awesome.
Yeah, so I volunteered in a dinosaur museum when I was around 8 years old. So that was my first, now not a job. I didn't get paid. I get paid maybe in an ice cream at the end of the day. But I used to do guided tours in a dinosaur museum. And just guide groups around basically when I was 8 years old.
That is so awesome. Do you still have a passion for dinosaurs?
I never had. I had a passion for making people happy and a passion for hospitality and showing them a good time, and that's what I still do on a daily basis. And dinosaurs didn't interest me at all. It was just the fact that I could, stand in front of a group and make them smile. And I think that's what I still love to do and can luckily do with my current job as well.
What a great way to get started. Now, do you remember that first song that you produced when you were in your teens?
Well, I mean, there's obviously a lot of crap that comes out of Fruity Loops when you first started up. So, yeah, what is the first song? I don't know. Like, I remember I did produce a lot of hard style, jump style, that back in the days, like that type of genre. And I used to always put it on a forum called Jump Force, and you had this demo drop section where you could drop your demo and people would reply to it, and that's how I kind of got my first feedback. So my first song that I released was probably like some hard style or jump style track.
It's so crazy to see how you've changed.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, melodies have always been at the heart of what I do. Instead of having things like you have the hardcore genre as well, where it's way more about the kick drum and precisely like tuning that. But for me, it's always been about melodies, just like in hardstyle and tropical house. It's very similar in that sense.
Well, speaking of melodies, one of your biggest songs that completely changed your life was your remake of Show Me Love, which so many people were in love with. But do you remember the first dance song that made you fall in love with EDM?
Yeah, it's quite funny, but I think it was the original version of Show Me Love, because I still remember I was somewhere buying new secondhand speakers for my drive-in show, and the guy that sold them to me wanted to show if they were good or not. He wanted to test them out, and the song he played was Robin S. Show Me Love. So I bought the speakers, but I also fell in love with the genre and started researching what type of music it was, because you have to remember, I was around 11, 12 years old. I had no idea about musical genres. I just played whatever was popular back then in school. And then I realized, there's this whole genre called house music and subgenres, and that's how I kind of dove in for the first time.
That's so awesome. Now, Sam Feldt isn't your real name. You had another name when you were originally DJing as well, but when you were trying to rebrand yourself, was Sam Feldt the first name you decided on, or were there other names you were first considering?
Well, I wasn't really rebranding myself. I was just creating a SoundCloud account to put the stuff on that I was mixing. I was completely absorbed by this new genre called tropical and melodical house, and with guys like Baker Matt and Kygo coming up, and I started making mixtapes versus songs in the beginning. And I just needed a new moniker, a new name to release these mixtapes under. And my real name is Sam. And back then, if you looked at melodic house, a lot of the German guys were doing really well, like Robin Schulz and Kalkbrenner. So I thought, hey, I need a German last name. So I typed in German last names in Google, and I found Feldt, which sounds great in English, in Dutch, and in German. So took my first name, added Feldt to it, and then I needed a logo. So I went to a website called thefont.com where you can download free fonts. Typed Sam Feldt, put it on the side, and that has been my logo for 10 years probably. And it was made in Photoshop by myself in 5 minutes. So that was my rebranding. Yeah, I've got a proper logo now since like 1 year, but that has been like the logo I've toured with for years, which was just me creating it in Photoshop.
Now, we were talking about the Kygo tour, your shows that you're doing, the drive-in shows that got you started. Do you remember the first time performing for a crowd?
in front of a crowd of, I think, 13-year-old girls that were having like a party in our youth center in the village where I was born, Boxtel, in the south of the Netherlands. And I was so honored, and I brought my own DJ controller, and I was even so scared to play that I brought a friend to do a back-to-back with me. The girls had fun, and in the end, they didn't really care about my music. But that was my first proper performance, and I got paid for it too. I think I got like 50 euros for it. So that was my first professional DJ performance, and I must have been around 13 or 12, something like that.
Wow, that's so incredible that you've been doing it this long. That's so awesome.
Now, almost going 20 years now.
Besides your new smash, Heart Like Mine, you've had so many songs that have been on the radio. Do you remember the first time hearing one of your songs on the radio?
Yeah, 100%. It was a song that I released on Spinnin', and the track itself was very Netherlands oriented. It was a collaboration with a very famous singer from the Netherlands called Henk Westbroek. The track never really made it out of the Netherlands because of that. But when they premiered it, I was on the biggest radio station in Holland, and they gave me a call, and I was so nervous, it was so crazy to actually talk to the guy, on the other end of the radio that you've been listening to for really your whole life. And have them talk about your music and play your music. Yeah.
That's such an amazing feeling. It's got to be. Even when I hear myself on the radio still, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I do. I have the Heartfelt radio show every week. And still when I hear it back, it's like, oh, it sounds pretty nice.
Pretty cool, yeah. Now, I congratulated you in DM back in April, but officially congratulations on the birth of your son. That is so amazing for you guys. When was the first time you found out you were going to be a father?
Oh, I just came back from a show in Berlin, and it was in the week of my birthday. So my wife had multiple gifts planned for me, and they were like kind of spread out throughout the week. So she had been giving me like small gifts every day, and now she gave me this box for the pregnancy test, and it was positive. I was like, oh. Oh, I'm getting a kid. Like that's the biggest gift, basically. So yeah, and then we wanted to keep it a secret for a while. But that same night, I had my birthday dinner, and she couldn't drink, obviously, and she couldn't have like half of the menu. So all my friends knew straight away. So even before my father knew, we had to tell him.
Well, congratulations again. That is so amazing. Now, finally, in honor of Heart Like Mine, it's got the lyrics, I wasn't looking for open arms, just a place where I could clear my mind. Where's the first place Sam Feldt goes to clear his mind?
Oh, I go inside, I close my eyes, and I meditate. I do that quite a lot every night before I fall asleep. That's how I kind of zone out of whatever is happening or has happened at the show before, and just feel what's happening inside of my body.
That's awesome, because a lot of times when I chat with performers, there's so much, even with me doing a radio show, your adrenaline gets so high, and then when the show's done, it crashes so much. I remember driving home and just calling my mom just to talk to somebody. So that's great that you do that.
Yeah, it's always the same. Like you're on the stage, high on adrenaline, jumping up and down, and then 5 minutes later you can be in the car by yourself, or even in the room by yourself, and it's a big switch. So you need to find a way to kind of going back down on that level, and get in touch with yourself again instead of what's happening around you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about this smash. The first time I heard Rosa Linn was on Galantis' One Cry. She is so incredible. How was this song born? I saw once again that the amazing Sophie Simmons had something to do with this.
Yeah, correct. I had a song with her called Magnets back in the days. It was on the EP that also included Post Malone as a bonus track, which was my biggest track ever. So you never know. But yeah, she wrote a ton, or at least one song that came out. But she's been involved with many projects as a writer, and this one was the same. So it was her voice on it originally. Rosa ended up cutting it, but I think Rosa sounded perfect from the very first take. So I knew immediately I wanted to have her on the song. I've been in love with her ever since she released Snap, and obviously the Galantis track that just came out. So yeah, overall, I just met her last weekend. That's very crazy after the song already came out, but it was a great celebration. She's an amazing live singer too. Sometimes people can sing really well in the studio, but then on stage they sound like shit. Definitely wasn't the case. So she really nailed the performance, and I'm very happy that she's on the track.
And how long ago did you guys start working on it?
Track's been in the works for quite a while. I think half a year ago is when I first got like the original idea, and from Sophie with just the lyrics and a little bit of the vocals. And the Coldplay sample, which now kind of is the drop, was not in the demo. It wasn't the idea to make it interpolation, which is different than, for example, when we did Crying on the Dance Floor, which was, it was an interpolation from the start. It was based on that iconic melody. But here it kind of just came into my mind as I was working on the drop melody. And I thought, oh no, well that sucks. We're never going to be able to clear that, but it sounds amazing. So I just sent it to my publisher and thought I'd never heard back again. But Coldplay actually liked it and cleared the track within a week. So fast too. So I was very excited when they gave me the news about that.
That is insane, because normally when you're trying to clear a sample, it could take like years for it to get cleared. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm waiting on a lot of samples to get cleared, just to be able to continue with the project. Obviously, right now there's a big hype around using samples and doing interpolations and stuff like that. And in a creative way, I always try to make sure that the new song, whatever it is, if it's Crying on a Dance Floor or Her Like Mine, stands on itself, and then the sample kind of gets reintroduced to a new, younger audience, where we kind of take, everybody, our generation knows Clocks by Coldplay, but a 10-year-old that's on TikTok might not know that sample yet. So we now have the honor to introduce it to them.
That's what's so incredible about these interpolations, is it truly is like a generation gap. Now, I love finding out how many different Vs there are of songs, from when you start working on it, all the tweaking that goes on, to when you finally master it and put it out. Do you remember what the final V was of Heart Like Mine?
Yeah. Phew. I know just from the mix and master side, we had about 10 variations, 10 versions, but that was when the track was already finished. So it was just tweaking the mix and master. Yeah, there must have been 30 versions, and then 15 with Rosa. But it wasn't that we needed to tweak as much. It was just little things like in the mix down and stuff like that. You always want to have it perfect. Things a lot of people won't even notice, but when I now listen to the track, I'm like, oh, nice. That bass line really fits in well with the kick. And yeah, just the technical stuff.
And how different was the original from when you sampled in the Coldplay? Was it a completely different sound?
It was. I mean, I always wanted to take this track into a certain direction, which, I wanted to be a dance smash, basically. The tempo was very good for it. Of course, the vocals itself, like they're powerful, they're uplifting. So I knew what direction I was going to take it in. But obviously the sample wasn't in there. I also have a version of the drop with a different melody in case we weren't able to clear it, and that was always my kind of V1. And then the V1.1 was the Coldplay one, which I almost threw in the trash, but luckily I didn't.
That's so amazing. Well, congratulations on it. It is such a smash. I can't wait to see it start climbing the charts. Now, you, of course, are on tour with Kygo. You've got your huge event coming up in Amsterdam. Besides that, is there anything else Sam Feldt would like to share with us?
Yeah, of course. I mean, if you're at ADE, definitely come by. My party is 17th of October at Hotel Arena. We're going to have a lot of really cool guests, like Laidback Luke's going to be announced soon. Bassjackers will be there, Martin Jensen. So yeah, ADE mode kind of from next month onwards. Yeah, of course, I've got a lot of new songs in the works as well. One that's a little bit more country pop that we're finalizing right now, that I I've been loving, from the very, very beginning. And we have a track coming up as well, with a couple of other big artists. But I don't know if I can tell you that yet, but I'll send it to you.
Well, I can't wait to hear all of it. And I got to ask a favor. This is going to be my first ever ADE. So when I see you over there, please take it easy on me.
Yeah, of course. You've never been to ADE? You're presenting this show and you've never been?
I've actually never left this country. Besides being born in Canada, I've only been in the United States, so this is going to be my first international trip.
Wow, I'm very honored that your first trip is going to be to Amsterdam, to my hometown, and I'm looking forward to welcoming you. And you have also chosen the exact right time to come during ADE. So I'll see you at the show. I'll see you there. Like, the whole city gets transformed into like the dance capital of the world. There's flags. There's people from all over the world in my backyard, basically. So that's kind of cool.
Well, I can't wait to experience it. Sam Feldt, it is always great catching up with you. Thank you so much for your time with us on America's Dance 30.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and I appreciate the support, and I'll see you at AD.